In March 2017, the first annual review of the 2016 to 2020 Zimbabwe United Nations Development Assistance Framework, ZUNDAF, was conducted by delegates from government, the UN, development partners and civil society.
The government and the United Nations country team in Zimbabwe pledged their joint commitment to implement the 2016 to 2020 Zimbabwe United Nations Development Assistance Framework, ZUNDAF, as a contribution to realize the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, of ending poverty, transforming the lives of citizens of Zimbabwe, as well as protecting our environment. The ZUNDAF, I'm happy, has been aligned to the national aspirations and commitments detailed in the Zimbabwean Agenda for Sustainable Socio-Economic Transformation, ZIMASET. It is my hope that the UN system in Zimbabwe will continue with their efforts in this regard and enhance UN coherence, as well as the achievement of coordinated program results, which ultimately will contribute positively to the development of Zimbabwe and the betterment of all its citizens.
This is an opportunity, as we heard from the Chief Secretary, once a year for the government, United Nations system, jointly with the stakeholder, to look at what we have achieved and what are the shortcomings and what can we do better in the implementation of ZUNDAF. The United Nations and its partner came together in support of the government to deliver over, as we just heard from the Chief Secretary, a total of 403 million towards achieving ZUNDAF result and responding to immediate humanitarian need of the vulnerable people affected by drought.
The 2016 to 2020 ZUNDAF, co-chaired by government and the United Nations, supports development efforts in 6 result areas: social services and protection, poverty reduction and value addition, food and nutrition, gender equality, HIV and AIDS, and public administration and governance. Each cluster highlighted key results that were achieved in the first year of the 2016 to 2020 ZUNDAF. For HIV and AIDS, over 1 million people living with HIV have been provided with antiretroviral therapy.
Our HIV prevalence is continued decline. It's around 13.6 now.
In poverty reduction and value addition, the Multi-Donor Resilience Program has so far helped over 86,000 vulnerable households around the country.
Over 90% of employment is informal, and the contribution by the informal sector to the GDP by SMEs has become quite significant.
In food and nutrition, 2 million people were provided with food assistance in response to the severe drought in 2016.
Some activities were done to capacitate smallholder farmers and extension agencies. These were capacitated in terms of crop production capacity, to include dryland and irrigation, then animal production and husbandry, then on issues to do with irrigation and water management.
In public administration and governance, Zimbabwe participated in the second Universal Periodic Review process and has begun implementing the 142 recommendations on strengthening human rights.
We all have a role to play, and we want to look into ways of working together to align our laws with the Constitution.
In social services and protection, a multi-million-dollar health development fund was created to strengthen the health system. Cash transfers were also made to over 55,000 vulnerable households.
We have seen an increase in the number of children with disabilities who have been enrolled in primary and secondary education in 2016, and that has been an increase of 24%, which is quite important.
In gender equality, child marriages have been banned and 8 women's banks were established in line with the National Financial Inclusion Strategy.
We have also managed to train large numbers of women on business acumen.
Other participants at the ZUNDAF annual review also made important contributions to the discussion.
But when they summarized,
In every single segment of the ZUNDAF, we spoke about data. It's absolutely indispensable that we start reinforcing this aspect.
If the cause has been lost for the past generation, there is still time for us to invest on the young people and mainly the young girls.
Development partners and civil society organizations also stressed the importance of closely coordinating development efforts.
Ownership and coordination imply that we all work together very closely. With the government, of course, in the first place, with the donors and the partners, including civil society, but also within the UN family.
We do need a coalition of champions for this agenda, and it will be led by people in this room, and if it's not led by people in this room, it's probably not going to happen.
Each of us, and I very much include ourselves in that, we need to look into the way we work and see if there are ways we can work in a more efficient manner.
None of us can do it alone, and I believe NGOs are the vanguard of social development. The UN is the catalyst for action, and then the government, is the enabler.
After the meeting, a press conference was held to communicate the results and the way forward for ZUNDAF.